Last week's game? Yeah, let's burn the film on that one.
Washington striking quickly. Husky touchdown.
Time to look ahead to the 119th Civil War. It'll be the final game in black and orange for some. We'll look back on the careers of the Beaver seniors, and Coach Anderson will help us look ahead to next year and who might be the players of the future in Corvallis. Beavers Inside the Huddle starts right now.
And Bolden makes a nice adjustment, and the Beavers touchdown.
And welcome into the Flat Tail Brewing studio along with Steve Priest, the quarterback for the Giant Killers team in 1967. I am Dusty Air. I'm not calling you legendary Steve Priest anymore.
Good.
I watched the Giant Killers documentary. Got the point across. You guys aren't legends. The team is. We're with you for the next half hour here as we will have Coach Anderson joining us to preview the Civil War. But what we like to start every show, let's take a look back on the InFocus MondoPad collaboration that works on what was a rough Saturday in Corvallis.
Well, Dusty, it didn't start out well. Defensively, the Beavs, you consider they've got 22 different guys starting on defense, 20 on offense. But if you put in the different position changes, guys will be a strong safety one week, then a nickel back, then there'll be a linebacker. There are probably 35 changes, and the net effect is you got the same problems in the 9th, 10th, and 11th games that you're having in the first game. So you'll see them as we look at this a little bit.
All right, let's take a look at right from the get-go.
Yeah, this is just a simple play. Right at the start of the game, you see first quarter, barely into the football game. It's a simple zone play. But watch here. You've got guys that are supposed to be in position. This is a man-to-man situation here, but everybody's supposed to be forcing it in and taking care of their gap, their force position, and it should end right there. But watch what happens. Simple zone play. The back bounces to the outside. This guy's in the inside too far, then a missed tackle, then another missed tackle, then another missed tackle. It looks exactly like it was the first game of the season. And then you get a very critical situation. Now, this is set up early in the game, third play of the game, and it's set up very well. Watch here. Wide receiver, wide receiver. It's man-to-man, man-to-man. You've got a zone or a blitz coming here, and he is going to absolutely break clean, folks. Should have been a sack, but watch what happens. Complete mistake here. The cornerback on the inside, the nickel back, jumps quickly to the receiver up in the flat and lets his man go deep. It's a simple touchdown. It was a complete mistake, a coverage break, and resulted in a touchdown. The Beavers are down 7-0. And the game is really less than a minute old. You know, and sometimes in situations like this, seasons like this, when the season's going like this, a drive like that happens, a couple of mistakes early, and it's just kind of a snowball effect, and you can't really get your feet back underneath you. Well, and you know, Dusty, we've forgotten to talk so much about situations with teams, and this team is still hustling. They're still throwing their bodies around. You saw it. They run hard. They do all those kind of things. They're changing so many personnel that there's a situation, though, when you get to a team that's averaging 16.9 points a game and it's 17-0 after 3 minutes, and you're a defensive player, you can still go hard, but there isn't any burning desire to make plays. Well, it wasn't just Oregon State being bad. It was Washington being really good, and we're seeing a freshman quarterback in Jake Browning. Doesn't look like a freshman anymore. No, I'm tired of these freshman quarterbacks. It's like we look at one every week. Browning throws for 200 and some odd yards, but he's 18 for 20, Dusty. I mean, I don't think I was ever 18 for 20 with nobody playing defense. And he played really well. And he throws all kinds of patterns, exactly what he knows how to read the defense. He's really way ahead for a freshman. And their running back, Miles Gaskins, was a pretty special running back on Saturday afternoon as well. Well, he's a special running back. You look at him, number 9 there, but he had a lot of missed tackles. He makes big plays, but he breaks tackles. He does all the things you're supposed to. He got 127 yards, and the Beavs seem to be giving up 100 yards each week, and Lord only knows it's going to get worse because there's somebody better coming down the pipe this week. Well, let's burn the game film on that one. Let's move on to bigger and better things. We still got a lot to get to on Beavers Inside the Huddle. Coach Anderson joins us for a preview of the Ducks, and we'll take a look back at these seniors' careers, some of the last games of their careers in orange and black. Against those guys right there.
0 for 4 right now passing, so they're trying to get some yardage on second down. Oh, that's well done, and Lucas may go. Foot race, and Lucas is tripped. And that is an incredible hustle. And going for Bolden here, and Nice adjustment. And the Beavers touchdown.
Some of the highlights from the UW game last weekend as the Oregon State Beavers are getting ready for the 119th Civil War. And as we do every week, for the next 20 minutes, we'll have Coach Gary Anderson live in Corvallis. Coach Anderson, thank you for taking the time for us this week. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, guys. How are you?
Very good, Coach. We watched some highlights, Paul Lucas's long run and a touchdown, and there were some good things, but not nearly so many in a 52-7. In a game like that, when you're getting ready for a big game like the Civil War, what do you take away for your team? How do you get that team with really the few things that went really well for them last week and get them ready to play the biggest game of the season?
Well, I think you obviously have to attack it whether you win or lose every single week. You have to go back and work to make the corrections of things that weren't good. You have to build on the positive things that came your way, you know, and unfortunately some of the positive things that keep coming our way, we get a guy to kind of break through as a young guy, and he ends up having an injury that takes him out of the game. So some of those things are tough, but it's the game of football. You know, you continue to work to get better every single week. I think if we've gone through this year, if there's one thing I look at on the defensive side of the ball that is becomes more glaring, and it was very obvious in this last game, and it's not just our ability to tackle, it's our ability to really run. And we have to make sure that as we continue to recruit in the future into this program, is we have to be able to run with these elite teams with the elite speed that they have. They've been built on very talented, skilled players, and if you can't run with those players, you're going to have a big problem on your hands. So this team, again, will come back and fight. They've done a great job this week of preparing. They're excited for this opportunity, and they're going to lay it all out there again. And you know, I always say it, anybody that watches tape, you can't fault their effort. And I'm proud of these kids because of the way they've continued to fight. It hasn't gone their way, obviously. And again, we are where we are for a reason, but they've got a lot of fight in them. They'll be excited to represent Oregon State come Friday.
Now, Coach, a new week and a new challenge in this one with Oregon in a quarterback-driven league. Vernon Adams is a guy 1 year in the system. He's been explosive at times for the Ducks. What are your initial thoughts when you look at him and breaking down the game tape and getting ready for this weekend's game?
Well, that's simple. Anybody that had an opportunity to play Oregon without Vernon Adams was fortunate. He's a tremendous player. He's got better and better as he's gotten healthy, and he's come back into the system, and he completely understands it. The players around him have complete belief and confidence in him. That becomes very clear and apparent on the tape. So he's a talented young man. He has the ability to obviously hurt you with his arm, with his legs, and with his mind, and that's exactly what you're looking for. So, you know, Oregon did a very nice job of going out and finding him and getting him involved in their program, and he's done a lot of great things for them. They are, you know, we put on the tape, they're playing at a very high level on the offensive side of the football right now, and a lot of that has to do with the effectiveness of the quarterback.
Well, Coach, you talked about elite players. They've got a running back, too, Royce Freeman, who I think is the only major college football player this year to have all 11 games with 100 yards. He's averaging 139. He's got very good speed. What do you do to combat a guy like that when you got a quarterback who causes the problems he does in a running game like the Ducks have?
Well, Freeman's an elite back. Been fortunate to be around some very good backs in my career, and he's right there with those guys. He'll play this game for a long time after college, and he'll be very good at this game at the next level. But the way to be able to contain him, do your best to make sure that you stay gap sound. A lot of times it's going to take more than one guy to take him down, and when he doesn't make a play, you got to line up and play again. But if you give him a crease, you're going to have some real issues with him. And you know, week in and week out, he is a player that is going to get his. That's what elite players do. They take advantage of opportunities, and he's going to have some nice plays. That's the way it goes. And when you're playing against elite players, the key is you do all you can to keep those to a minimum. And we need to affect the game in that way with Oregon's offense overall, with how we play offense, how we play defense, and quite frankly, how we play special teams.
Well, we're just getting started with Coach Anderson. As a head coach, you become kind of a historian on rivalries as well. And we will also take a look at the up-and-comers of the program and the seniors and their legacy at Oregon State University. Beavers Inside the Huddle rolls on as we have a Civil War edition.
It is no good, and we are headed to overtime. Keaton pumps, rolls, there's all day. Chucky Keaton, nothing but green inside the 5. Keaton is shoved out of bounds, just short of the goal line. Williams, touchdown, Utah State. Hayes to the end zone. Utah State wins.
Hey, there it is. Coach Anderson in rivalry games, he's pretty darn good at knocking off the Utah Utes back in 2012 with a 27-20 win. As you see, Wisconsin against Minnesota, perfect 2-0. Now he's got his shot against the ranked Oregon Ducks, and we welcome back in Coach Gary Anderson. Rivalry games take on a special meaning, and you know, when you're in your first year, coach, at a new school, how do you attack, you know, ingraining yourself with the rivalry like the Civil War and becoming that historian that head coaches are?
Well, first of all, you can't forget about those Iowa games and those Nebraska games. Those were heavily contested battles also in the Big Ten, and we had a bunch of rivals back there. But as we continue forward now, you get a state that's divided, which I think is awesome. It's one of the great things of college football. Rivalries are a special game. It's a special week, and it's special for everybody, players, fans. You know, families are split. It's a pretty special environment. So this is one of the elite rivalries in college football. There's absolutely no doubt about it. You learn very quickly. If you just come into Corvallis or come into, quite frankly, Oregon, and you start driving around, you'll realize how important the rivalry is real quick just by looking at the bumper stickers and the stickers on cars and windows and everything else. But past that, once you arrive on the scene, it's very obvious how important this game is. So, you know, rivalry games are special. They're fun opportunities for our kids, and they will remember this game forever. That is the bottom line. You will remember the rivalry games that you played in more so than probably any other games that you play.
Coach, do the young kids, they come in the system and they haven't seen this rivalry? Do you have to basically teach them, instruct them as to what it's like and how close the schools are? Because we don't have a lot of Oregon, the state of Oregon players now at Oregon State, like in the good old days.
Well, hopefully that changes as we move forward and we're able to get a few more Oregon kids on our roster. But, you know, you have to educate the young men, especially when we are as young a team as we are. They need to, number one, learn that our plan with the rivalry game is to obviously win, respect our opponent, but understand that it is a special game. It's a special opportunity, and you can talk about that all you want as a coach. You know, I was fortunate to grow up in a tremendous rivalry also, so I get it, I understand it. But if you haven't been part of it, you don't have a true feel. So you have to bring back past players, and not just in rivalry week. I think you need to bring back past players all year long, off season, spring ball, whatever it may be, summer conditioning, and then obviously during the season to have those players share their experiences with the rivalry game, what's expected out of a student athlete at Oregon State University. So education is the key.
Well, you're talking about some guys who are about to become former Beavers. You've had some seniors, only 12 of them this year, but they have. You've had some guys who've really played well. I'd use Josh Mitchell, who's just been an anchor in that line, and Kyle Pecco, some of these guys. Could you talk about the seniors on this team who, unfortunately, haven't had a chance to beat the Ducks? So this could be an unbelievably sensational game for these guys.
Yeah, overall, it would be fantastic for these kids to obviously get a victory, and they'll walk in there believing that that's what's going to happen. And the reason for that belief, I believe, has a lot to do with the senior class. And you mentioned Josh, you mentioned Kyle. There's a number of those kids that have done very well. But those two kids, Josh and Kyle, two very, very different stories. But these kids have battled. You know, you'd like to think at the end of the day that they'd be recognized for how they've played at the end of the season, and I'm hopeful that they will be. But those two young men have played at an extremely high level. They've battled. They've played every single snap that we've asked them to. They've played injured. And you know, they're warriors, and they're exactly what you want to have. If you can look at those two kids and say that's what you're supposed to be as a football player at Oregon State, I think we'd all be proud to say that they were part of us.
Let's take a look at our Ben Bridge Diamonds in the Rough. Coaches, we're looking at the rising stars, some of the guys that maybe have popped off the page of you that are some of the young guys, the Ryan Knowles, Seth Collins, that have a bright future here in the Oregon State program. Who are some of those guys that you have earmarked moving forward?
Well, you mentioned two of them right there. You know, those two young men have played very well at times and are looking forward to the future. Paul would be another one. Paul's played wide receiver. He's come back and been in the backfield and been involved. So there's a lot of bright spots. And on the defensive side of the ball, you know, there needs to be more of those kids that continue to grow and develop to get into those positions. But you know, Treston came in as a junior. He's new to our program and played very well. Got injured and came back, and I think he fought off a very difficult injury. So there's a lot of those kids that have grown up in this program. I'm excited to see them get into the off season. I'm excited to see most of that recruiting class that redshirted a year ago get into the weight room, get with Coach Simon, get out with us in spring ball, and see how quickly we can, you know, catch some people in this league, because that's where we're at. We're in the mode that we've got to work every day to catch people.
Coach, one other guy that doesn't fit into the senior category because he redshirted a year with an injury, but has been as consistent as anybody I've seen all year, and that's Isaac Ciamalo. Talk about Isaac, would you please?
Yep. No question. Isaac has, for what he has overcome, he's great for a team to see. Just his ability to fight off an injury and refuse to give in to an injury. He had many opportunities, and well, I'm sure was told many times, boy, I just don't know if football is the best thing for you anymore. He fought through all that and got himself ready to play, and he's started every game for us. He's played at a very high level. He's played left tackle. He's played guard. It comes in a second at center if we need him to do. Whatever we've asked Isaac to do, he's done. He is a very, very silent leader, and he develops the youth in our program through his work ethic, through his toughness. And you know, we all truly hope that he is a junior, but Isaac will make that decision. And I'm completely 100% prepared to support whatever decision he makes and his family makes. He's got great support at home. He has a tremendous family, and he'll make the decision that he thinks is best for him. Would we love to have him back? Absolutely yes. But again, you can't put the selfish side into things. Isaac will do what is best for him, and we are going to support him. But he's a tremendous young man and a great player.
It's the 119th Civil War, but it's the first for Gary Anderson. Coach, any final thoughts before you roll off into the first one of many in Corvallis?
Well, you know, we're excited about this opportunity, and it only comes around once a year. So I think the kids have prepared. They're excited to get on the bus, ride down there, have a good night's sleep, wake up in the morning and play. And it's been this year, without rambling and going on and on, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate all the Beaver fans that are out there that have been with us. And obviously we look to get better quickly and keep battling through these times that we're in. And I don't think these tough times will last very long, but this is a wonderful place to be. Again, as I always say, we're blessed and lucky to be just a small part of this university. Past that, I'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays, and we'll see you soon. Stay tuned. Things are on the roll. Go Beavs.
All right, Coach Anderson, thank you very much. Good luck Friday down in Eugene. We still got our keys to the game to get to, and we haven't even referenced. We got a letterman sitting right here on the set. Beavers Inside the Huddle wraps up. Right now it's time, Steve, to unveil our keys to the game, brought to you by your local Northwest Honda dealers. All right, limit the big play. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Oregon likes to do it, you gotta limit it. Number 2, tackle in space. That leads to the big plays. If you can't do one, it leads to the other. And then control the clock. If there's one thing that gives Oregon fits, if their offense is in a rhythm, you can control the clock with your offense. you're going to have some success, and you're going to have to do it through the air a little bit.
Well, it's taken 12 games, but we're awfully close on these keys this week. Defense, no explosive plays. And if you can go no explosive plays against Oregon, you would win. But the idea is make them work for it. Right. You got to keep the ball away from their offense, too. And that means Oregon State's got to come back with some different formations, some different things to get some first downs. And then lastly, same as last week, you got to score points somewhere. And you got to score them on defense, on special teams, anywhere you can get them. 16.5 points a game, you got to find some way else to score against the Ducks.
We made it sound like it's pretty easy to beat the Ducks. All you got to do is no big plays and control the clock.
It's Civil War. It's a Civil War.
It's that easy. And this jacket is amazing. Your Civil War pins that are on your Letterman's jacket still.
I've got some other, I got another Letterman's jacket with another little thing on it, and a lot of things I should have put on this and left on this for this game.
Steve, it's been a pleasure doing Inside the Huddle with you this year. Let's do it again next year, huh?
Thanks, Dusty. I've enjoyed it too. Great show.
Civil War this Friday, 1 o'clock down in Eugene.